In today's video, we are going to be going over a very interesting rumor that I recently came across. Now, I am a little bit late to this rumor, and you know what? I don't even think I can call it interesting. In fact, I'd have to call it nonsensical, ridiculous, or just even dumb, honestly. And some of you may be asking, MBG, why would you take time to cover a rumor that you think is dumb or nonsensical and one you clearly don't believe to be true? Well, mainly because I think it does actually lead to a pretty interesting conversation. It leads to an interesting conversation regarding the launch lineup for both the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. Who is going to have the stronger launch lineup? And this rumor comes from an individual named Anton Logvanov. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. He is a Russian YouTuber. In fact, he is the same individual who apparently correctly predicted that Death Stranding would be launching on PC, even though it was announced as a PC game from day one. But it's also the same individual who is claiming that Horizon Zero Dawn is going to be making its way to PC. And here we sit today. Horizon Zero Dawn is not on PC, at least not natively anyway. You will be able to stream it on PC through PlayStation Now temporarily for about 3 months, but that's about it as far as we know. So this is the individual we're talking about here, and the rumor here is he is claiming that the PlayStation 5 will not have any exclusives at launch, at least not any major exclusives. And that's where things get really interesting, because I think it really does come down to what we would consider major launch exclusives. But on top of that, he's going as far to say here that Microsoft is going to have between 12 and 16, and I put this in air quotes, exclusive titles on day one with the Xbox Series X. So yeah, you can clearly see why this rumor is ridiculous, why it's just flat out dumb, but it really did get me thinking, what is Sony going to have at the launch of the PlayStation 5? But more importantly, how is it going to stack up against the competition? Because there's no doubt that both the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X are going to be launching relatively close to one another. And the truth is, even though we can safely say that they're both going to do well, especially Sony with the PlayStation 5, a lot of people are going to feel as though they have to choose, because most people who are even interested in buying one of these consoles are not going to be able to buy both, at least not at launch. And the importance of launch titles, I mean, we have to understand that the main goal for both Sony and Microsoft here is to get gamers to go out there, buy these consoles, and upgrade. And the only way they're going to be able to do that properly is by enticing them to go out there and do this. And the only way you can properly entice gamers to buy new hardware is with exclusive games. Now, this is where Microsoft, as we've discussed many times in the past, and we will continue to discuss it as long as I see it as a major disadvantage, does have a major disadvantage here. That being that any games that will launch alongside the Xbox Series X will not be truly exclusive to just the box, or boxes if they end up launching two consoles. And because of that, a lot of would-be buyers, or at least a significant chunk of would-be buyers, are going to sit there and say, you know what, I'm not going to get the new console because I'm just going to buy it and play on PC. However, there are still those who may have a nice PC, but they still prefer console gaming. And so when you think of these people, I guess it doesn't matter to some individuals, to these specific individuals, that the games such as Halo Infinite or whatever else they may have launching alongside the Xbox Series X will come to PC. Maybe it won't make a difference to them. But the point is, right off the bat, whatever Sony does offer, even if it may not be a major exclusive, will actually be a true exclusive, as far as we know anyway. I'm confident in saying that. Jim Ryan and others over there at Sony have made it pretty clear that while they are experimenting in different areas and trying to maybe loosen the belt a little bit here in some areas, they are certainly not going to be diving in head first, and they've reaffirmed the importance of exclusives to them when it comes to their big titles. So it's important to understand all of this stuff when you're discussing this, because a lot of people seem to forget this. But talking about the launch lineup for Sony here, it is true that they haven't announced anything major. The only thing that they've announced so far that we know about is Godfall, which is a third-party exclusive game for the PlayStation 5. And we also don't know if this is going to be launching day and date with the PlayStation 5. We can only assume it will be, but there's also a chance it could be launching a couple months after the PS5 is already out. But I also don't think Godfall is that game that people are looking at to say, I'm going to upgrade to the PlayStation 5 because of Godfall, to play Godfall. While I do think it has the potential to be a good game, and I think it seems like a pretty solid game based off of everything we've heard so far, it's just not that big title that people want to go out there, in my opinion anyway, and buy a PlayStation 5 for. So then you have to ask yourself, well, what could Sony announce? What will they announce that will do that? Well, I think there's going to be two major games at launch that Sony are going to try to have there day one for the PlayStation 5 to entice gamers to upgrade. Now, yesterday in my predictions video, I said that one of these games was going to be Gran Turismo 7 or the next Gran Turismo, and a lot of people actually pointed out to me that that might not be the case simply because apparently, I think it's Polyphony Digital, these are the people who make Gran Turismo, they like to take their good old time, and so we might not actually see a Gran Turismo at the launch of the PS5, but I still think that there's a chance we could, but let's just assume we won't. What else would Sony have? Well, I also mentioned Guerrilla Games, their second team. A lot of people are expecting Horizon 2. I think it's a little bit too early for Horizon 2. I don't think it will be a launch title with the PS5. However, Sony could surprise us, but if I had to put my money on anything, I think it's safe to say that we are going to see what Guerrilla's second team is working on, and that is what is going to launch day one with the PlayStation 5, and I do believe it's going to be a SOCOM reboot. The reason why I think this is more than likely going to be the case, even if it's not a SOCOM reboot, even if it is a new Killzone game or something along those lines, I think Sony's going to want to have something to compete with Halo Infinite. I really do. And I think that even though SOCOM, you could probably say doesn't hold the same weight as Halo, obviously, or even Killzone doesn't, I still think it's important that Sony tries to compete in these different areas. But is that all they're going to offer? Could we see them just doing maybe Gran Turismo and Guerrilla Games' SOCOM reboot or Killzone? No, not necessarily. Again, pushing Gran Turismo aside for a second here, I could also see Sony making sure that they have Demon's Souls from Bluepoint ready to go, that Demon's Souls remake ready to go day one with the PlayStation 5. So then we have an interesting scenario here. You have the PlayStation 5, Guerrilla Games, SOCOM reboot, AAA, $60 title, right, with a campaign and multiplayer. And then you have Demon's Souls remake from Bluepoint, AAA, $60 title, complete remake from the ground up, and I think it will be very popular considering how popular From Software games are now than they were back when Demon's Souls first came out. I think that would be a pretty solid launch lineup, and let's just even throw Godfall in there as a supplemental third-party exclusive multiplayer game or co-op game. I think that that's a pretty solid lineup because you know that going into 2021, Sony's going to have some big plans all throughout the year of other exclusive games, probably their bigger games like potentially Horizon 2 and Spider-Man that they're going to launch. But then you look at the Xbox Series X. We know that Microsoft has confirmed Halo Infinite will be launching day one, and while I do think Halo is certainly a big title, I think maybe we could still call it a juggernaut, and I think it's really helped by the fact that this next Halo game is going to see the return of Master Chief, and we know there's a lot riding on it. I think 343 and Microsoft both know there's a lot riding on it. I think it's safe to say it's going to be a big title for them for sure, and that is why I think it's important for Sony to have something to compete with that to some extent. But you have to ask, what else is Microsoft going to have? I've been hearing people talk about a Forza game. Now, I do not think it's likely we see Forza Horizon 5 simply because it makes more sense to see Forza Motorsport 8. We know that team has taken an extra year of development, I believe, and I think that this is the reason for that. They want to make sure that they have their racing game ready to launch with their next Xbox. So I could see Microsoft having Halo Infinite and Forza Motorsport 8. I do not see them having 12 to 16 games that are exclusive to just the Xbox or Microsoft platform at launch. That is completely unrealistic. Unless this person was talking about past Xbox One and Xbox 360 games or exclusives that you can play through backwards compatibility, that's just simply not going to happen. And that's basically how I see it shaping up. Now, I could be completely wrong, but based off of everything we know, everything we've been hearing, even having Bluepoint confirm when talking about the PS5, or when Sony talked about the PS5 for the second time, that they are working on a PS5 title, it's more than likely going to be a launch title. This is exactly how I see it playing out. I see Sony launching Demon's Souls remake from Bluepoint, and I also see them launching a SOCOM reboot. And on Microsoft's side, I see them launching Halo Infinite and Forza Motorsport 8. Now, maybe both companies will have some supplemental titles. Maybe we could see Microsoft have some kind of third-party timed exclusive or something smaller from one of their other studios that'll be more like AA, kind of like what we're seeing with Godfall. Although I don't know if Godfall is AAA or AA. But yeah, that's pretty much how I see things shaping up. Anybody who thinks that Sony is going to somehow launch their next generation console without having any exclusive titles, you're just completely wrong. Now, to end this video, I'm going to ask the question, if this is the case, if Sony does have Demon's Souls remake and a SOCOM reboot from Guerrilla Games, or a new SOCOM game from Guerrilla Games, I mean to say, I don't know if it would be considered a reboot, but we'll just call it that. Would those be big enough? Are those the big games that people are going to want to go out there and buy a PlayStation 5 for? I think so. Honestly, I think a lot of people would go out there and buy one for Demon's Souls and SOCOM, but I think Sony's going to have a lot to show off at E3 that will be coming in the next year or two after the PS5 launches that are going to convince a lot of people to go out there and buy one day one. So anyway, guys, that's going to do it for the video. Let me know your thoughts about this down in the comments below. I will be interested to see what you guys have to say. Leave the video a like if you did enjoy it. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and haven't already. Hit the bell notification icon so you never miss an upload. And feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.